Too wordy. It's a book. It's made of words. I fear this video may make me very defensive over some books. Let's see how it goes. Hey, it's Jamie, thanks for stopping by, and today we're going to be having a look at some of the most savage one-star reviews of my favourite books. I know that reading is a very subjective thing, and it's one of the things I love most about reading, how one person's pile of trash can be some person's love of their life in terms of literary things. So I'm not judging these people's opinions too harshly, because clearly we were coming at things from a very different perspective. But I just thought it would be really interesting because obviously even the objectively most incredibly written, well thought out, best plot lines, blah 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 books in the world have one-star reviews, have people who hate them with a passion. So I thought it would be fun to have a look at some of the most savage one-star reviews of the books that I would give 1,000,000 stars to. My 5-star books where people have rated them 1. Let's have a look. And we're going to kick it off with The Passage by Justin Cronin. It's a book I read as a teenager. So some of these are books I haven't read for a long time. And I'm like, maybe if I read them as an adult, I might have viewpoints more in line with the people leaving these reviews. But based on my childhood perception, my teenage perception of these books, I would give them 5 stars. How dare somebody hate them? It's fine. It's forgivable. Too wordy. It's a book. It's made of words. That is a very unhelpful review. You need to say more if you're going to give it 1 star. What stars? 1 star. It's not plural. Why, it's 1. Somehow made a vampire apocalypse boring. Boring. The Passage boring. Again, so subjective. I found it quite thrilling. Like The Road, only it's not good and way too long. Does seem to be a shared theme though. Maybe I am wrong. Maybe teenage me really loved boring, long-winded things because all 3 of these reviews have been saying very similar stuff. Why? Not helpful. Not why what? Why did you leave this review? Burn! Did not finish. Wasted almost 4 hours of my life listening to this trash. I would really like to talk to the Christian podcaster who rated this 5 stars. Why did it need to be specified that it was a Christian podcaster that rated this 5 stars? Was it trash because somebody felt like it went against their Christian beliefs, maybe? Or was it trash because they were bored? I don't know. Who knows anything? It is a very long book, and I feel like 4 hours is perhaps not enough time on an audiobook to give it a true chance, but I am going to defend this book. I'm going to defend all of these books. It's okay if people didn't like them. I listened to this on audio, and it was 36 hours, 46 minutes, and 54 seconds of pure misery. Oh my god. Random House describes it as an inventive story that is a chronicle of human endurance. I agree, because it took all my strength and discipline to finish the book. This is so mean. I thought surely it must get better. My journey will be worth the trial when I make it to the end. I was sorely mistaken and left unsatisfied with a horrible anticlimactic finish and too many unanswered questions. It's like they wanted a little medal. Congratulations, you finished the book. I would elaborate, but just thinking about the book leaves me despondent and annoyed. Warning, if you suffer with depression, do not go near this book. Interesting. I worry that these reviews are going to make me think I'm wrong for liking these books, but no, I know I'm not wrong. These books all made it into, I believe these books, or at least most of these books, pretty much all these books made it into my favourite books of all time video that I did recently. I enjoyed reading this review. It was quite fun in how it was written. I just disagree with it. Maybe I'm just tired of vampires. Maybe this book bored me. Not maybe at all. I did not finish this book. I received this as a birthday present from my sister-in-law and she loved it. I tried to read this one twice. I found myself bored. I read a few chapters and I just kept wondering when something was going to happen. Nothing happened soon enough for me, and like I said, I was bored and it lost my attention, so it remains unfinished. I kind of like that review as well. There is definitely a theme of boredom, long-windedness, couldn't finish, couldn't get into it, felt like I wasted my time. I'm hearing this. I'm not agreeing with this, but I'm respecting the opinion. I feel like this person who left the review will not be taking book recommendations from their sister-in-law going forward. I'm not going to restrain the beast. This book was at 800-something pages too long and by some miracle made a post-apocalyptic vampire novel more uninteresting than fishing in a fishless pond with Pop Goes the Weasel endlessly on repeat. That doesn't just sound boring, that sounds torturous. Justin Cronin could have shaved this down to 200 pages and I might have forgiven him for the threat of a sequel at the end, but he didn't. I don't forgive him, and I'm already rubbing my eyes with sandy cat litter to ease my suffering after The Passage. When somebody said they'd rather fish in a fishless pond and listen to Pop Goes the Weasel and rub their eyes with sandy cat litter than read this book, that is some deep-seated, pure hatred. Like, this person hates this book. You have to admire their passion. The final one for the passage. This has got to make the top 10 worst book breakups I've ever had. Everything started off so great. Stephen King said it was awesome. It sounded like the sort of thing I should love. And for part 1, it was. But then everything went to hell in part 2. To be fair, I don't even remember that there were parts. I could very easily probably read this book and be like, what the hell was I thinking? But because I've not reread it, I'm going to disagree. At first, I was just annoyed that it had gone from pretty good to tediously boring, and there were all these characters I honestly couldn't keep straight because they had no personality, and at first the brother was gone and then he was back because they'd hopped back in time. I honestly have no idea. And then he was gone again, and there was a girl, or maybe there were several girls. I'm honestly not sure. Why are you so awful now, book? We were supposed to be happy together for 700 pages. This is all your fault. Go back to how you used to be. You changed. How could you change? I was willing to commit to you based on what I thought you were, but no, you lied to me. And once the irrational anger set in, even if it suddenly became interesting again, I would be too annoyed to admit it. I get it. You're proud. You've made up your mind. You're like, this is shit. I'm not finishing it. You can't go back on that. So that's when I decided we might as well just call the whole thing off. And now I'll spend the rest of my life bashing this book, even if it doesn't really deserve it. Even though I'm pretty sure it does. Epic books deserve an epic breakup, I guess. I really admire the way some of these reviews are written. They're actually quite beautiful. They're quite poetic. I'm loving the metaphor of this book being a relationship breakup. Excellent. No notes. I still think I like the book. The next book is The Thursday Murder Club. This one I read more recently, so this one I know I will stand by in really enjoying. Feeling like the elderly people in this book because this took years off my life. It aged me. I too am now a retiree solving murders. Well, fell asleep on the train 3 times on 3 separate occasions while reading this. Did not finish from me, I'm afraid. I feel like it's quite a decently paced murder mystery. I don't know if I could fall asleep during it, but maybe the train, maybe the rocking of the train just helped this person go to sleep. Because I do know if Shelba gets in a car at night as the passenger, she will fall asleep within 5 minutes. It's guaranteed. And she'll occasionally wake up and go, I'm sorry, and then she'll go straight back to sleep. And I'm like, fine, you sleep. I know the drill. It has been 14 years. We have this down. So maybe this person just gets lulled to sleep by trains. Is it the book or is it the train? This was not for me. I would rather eat Vegemite. I like Vegemite. Maybe that's the difference. Maybe the people who like Vegemite like this book. Woeful. Boring piece of work with way too many characters, an uninteresting murder plot, and a less than gripping narrative style. Osman has aptly written a book that is pointless. I have to respect this review for bringing it back round to Richard Osman presenting Pointless. It's very clever. I have literally no idea what happened this entire book. Interesting. I disagree, but I also pretty much had no idea and only vague ideas of really what was happening in Wicked for the whole book. But there are some people that rave about it and love it and they get it and it just clicks with them. So I don't think it's about your ability to understand a book or how clever you are or whatever. I think it's just to do with what clicks for you. If something doesn't gel and I'm reading it, my brain's going to switch off and I'm not going to get it, and then I'm going to hate it even more. Imagine making murder mystery boring. That's exactly what this book does. Do I like boring books? I just filmed a discussion about A Little Life and people think that's boring and I didn't think it was boring, and people think The Passage is boring, and people think Thursday Murder Club is boring. I guess it's just if it doesn't interest you, it's boring. That's fair. There is no greater indictment against this country than the fact this book has been widely loved and well received. What is wrong with the UK for loving this book? How dare. That felt like a read of the entire country, not just Richard Osman's ability to write a book. The real mystery is how I managed to finish this book. I listened to the audiobook and disassociated several times through. These are all fair comments for when you really don't like a book and you don't click with it. I get it. I've had similar experiences, but just with different books. Yeah, it's fine. Richard. Oh, this is too Richard Osman. Richard, this hurt me more than it hurts you. Literally, I'm in physical pain. I have such a headache from this book, I actually called my doctor. This book was a mess. By page 30, I was desperate for imagery, like any descriptive language. It didn't even have to be good. But by page 300, I decided it was a waste of a prayer. Good gracious. Respectively, Richard, please learn an adjective. Any adjective will do. I am begging you. Headache update. Doctor says I need glasses. I don't know how, but this is Richard's fault. Please comment the best address to forward my medical bill. Richard owes you glasses. Clearly. Absolutely. Any descriptive language? No, this is just making me want to reread stuff because I'm disagreeing. Hello, can I be bothered? No, it's fine. I don't need to justify my enjoyment of book, and somebody doesn't need to justify their disenjoyment, although I did say earlier, don't leave a 1 star and just be like, why? Technically true, but I want to know why. Did not finish. 0 out of 5. This is the type of person that's like, this app is making me give it a star, and this is making me angry because I don't want to give it a star at all. I was fooled, swindled, bamboozled. If your singing praises have been printed on a copy of this book, I will sue you for emotional distress. I need reparations. There probably already is a class action lawsuit somewhere. Oh my god. To whomever has called Richard Osman the next Agatha Christie, please go get a psych evaluation. Clearly something is not right up there. I'm kind of enjoying the drama of this review, but this is very mean. Not just to the author, but also to the people who enjoyed the book, which I don't think is fair. Coming to the plot, or lack thereof, there are too many unnecessary characters. They're equally unnecessary POV chapters and not enough depth to the characters or the story. I am ashamed that this was my buddy read pick for the month. I have lost all faith in the group chat. Oh, this was their pick. Did they pick it before it was read? Were they like, I recommend this book. Hey, if you've not read it, and you're like, I've heard good things about this book, the blurb sounds amazing, and you recommend it, and none of your group gel with it, or it is just shit, that's not your fault. It's okay to try things and not enjoy it. This is how we learn our individual tastes. Very detail-orientated book with too many character perspectives for my taste. There were unnecessarily many dead bodies that kept showing up all over the place. It's a murder mystery. There needs to be dead bodies. And to be honest, in a murder mystery, the more dead bodies, the better.
The dirtier, the better.
There was some good dark humour, but it wasn't enough to keep me invested. Fair, if this is your opinion, but I don't know how there can be too many dead bodies in a murder mystery. That confuses me. What an absolute load of twaddle. I've not heard that word in a while. Twaddle, twaddle, twaddle. Twiddle your thumbs. Once again, I was taken in by the glowing reviews, but the truth is the total opposite. Quite simply, it's boring. Do not bother. And somebody just replied going, couldn't agree more. I was bored to tears. I actually decided to watch paint dry instead of read this book. Okay, that's it for Thursday Murder Club. I'm okay. Let's move on. Shake off the negativity. I Am Legend, which I do also think has some legitimate criticisms of the theme. I enjoyed it because I enjoy that type of book, and I also appreciate the cultural impact that it's had, which I took into account with my enjoyment of the book, but is totally subjective as to whether you want to do that. I like no judgment either way, and I understand that there are some problems with it. Yes. 1 star, it was okay. I don't think you can give a book a 1 star rating and say it was okay. That's at least 2 stars. At least two to 3 stars would warrant a it was all right kind of comment. 1 star? No. What do you give books that you think are awful? Read this when I was 15. I don't remember much about it, but I know I gave it a bad rating. I mean, I can't really judge because I've been saying that I read books as a teenager and I can't really remember much about them, but I'm standing by my good rating, so fair. Well, I didn't like the movie, so I thought I would maybe like the book, but nope, just not my cup of tea. I've never watched a movie and gone, did not like that film. Let me go read the book. That just doesn't cross my mind. I'm like, if I don't like the movie, I appreciate that the movie can be a bad adaptation of the book, but generally, like, the storyline is going to be similar. The same kind of characters with the same kind of personalities are going to come up. Unless you watched a movie and you were like, I hated this film, but I think I would have loved everything about it if it was told in a really poetic way in a book. I don't really think you're going to have much hope of enjoying a book of a movie you hated. Maybe I'm wrong. If that's happened to anybody, I'd love to hear it. No. Just no. I will literally never forgive my junior year English teacher for forcing us to read this. I can't even begin to explain how strongly this book made me want to hit myself with a mallet harder than Ruth hits Neville in chapter 18. Now, I did English literature at A-level, and I would sit here and go, I hated the books I covered. Great Gatsby, Atonement, The Collector. But so many people love those books. So many people would rave about them. And the only reason I'm saying I hated them is because I had to study them for exams. And I think that skewed my perception. I want to reread them. So whenever somebody begins a really particularly negative review with, I had to do this for like an assignment or an exam or like a class, my brain just goes, are you sure you hated the book? Or did you just hate what you had to read it for? Or both. Shit from a butt. butt. Beautiful. Such a poetic shit from a butt. It's like, I could have done a shit better than this book. I was bored throughout the whole book. Don't know how people found this creepy. I've read fairy tales that are creepier than this. I often think classic / must-read books are often heavily overrated. Same goes for this. I actually hated it so much I had to listen to the audiobook because I didn't want to read it myself as it kept making me fall asleep. I would fall asleep way easier to an audiobook of a book I was finding boring than actually reading it. I did find it creepy. I found it a slow burn kind of creepy, but creepy nonetheless. I'm really sorry. I'm wearing this jumper without a t-shirt underneath. I was committed to this jumper, but it's really hot in this room and it's itchy. That's why I keep scratching myself. Sorry, it's very off-putting. I did find it creepy. I found it slow burn creepy, but it's quite a short book and it does kind of build. I quite like the creep factor of it. Probably one of the only instances where I like the movie more than the book. Fair. Okay, that's it for I Am Legend. And on the topic of apocalyptic horror type, we are going to the book that I rated my #1 favourite book of all time. So maybe I'm going to get slightly more defensive over this book, but it's The Enemy by Charlie Higson. I love apocalypse stories. I love zombies. I love zombie apocalypse stories with a bit of a twist. And I really kind of like books set in the UK that like it really used London and like London systems as well. And I think I could just really imagine myself there. I'm so used to reading so much stuff based in the States. And I'm like, this just sounds so vast and I have no idea where you are and I don't understand the context of this, that it was kind of nice that it was based in London. But that's not the only thing I loved about this book. It is really a tiny thing. Anyway, negative reviews. Prepare yourself. This book sucks too much to be put into words. That's sad. What happens when all the adults in the world get sick and turn into zombies? They eat everyone that can't get away, i.e. the kids. This book was so dark. It was just one senseless death after another, after another, after another. It's a zombie apocalypse. If this is going to be a theme that people have rated this low because it's dark and kids die, I believe I did read that for the American release, they increased the age. So it was like everybody under the age of 15 or something turned into a zombie in this world. And I feel like they upped that age for the States and they also upped the reading age of it a little bit. Like they didn't change the book, they just changed the category of reading age, I think. There was something about it where they had to change something about ages to make it appeal more in the States. I've read multiple YA books that are significantly darker than The Enemy. On an objective level, I disagree that it's bad because it's dark and that there were senseless deaths. It's an apocalypse where kids are having to fend for themselves. They are going to die. A lot of them are going to die. To be fair, I knew I wouldn't like this book before I started it, and I wouldn't have read it if it hadn't been for my book club. I just don't like horror, particularly zombies and zombie-like creatures, unless there's something else very compelling going on in this book, e.g. some of Myra Grant's work. Sometimes I feel like our personal subjectivity and biases, like, why would you leave a review going, it's 1 star because I didn't like it, but I knew I wasn't going to like it because I literally don't like any of the themes of this book, so clearly I'm not going to like it. That's not a helpful review. I don't agree with leaving a review like this. And yes, there's a little bit here. The characters were interesting and very different from each other, and they faced issues of self-reliance, loyalty, leadership, and compassion, but the zombie-like grown-ups were really too much for me. I won't be reading any of the later books. Someone who enjoys zombies and horror might well enjoy it. Exactly! Why are you reading, let alone reviewing a book that is exactly not what you like in a book? Like, for me, the concept of romantasy really doesn't appeal to me, personally. Maybe there's some that I would like, but it's like if I picked up a romantasy book and I read it and I was like, I can appreciate that this is well written, I can appreciate that the storyline is decent, the characters are great, there's really interesting themes explored and things happening, but I hate this book because I hate romantasy. I feel like that'd be really unfair of me and really unreasonable for me to then go and review that and knock that book down, because this is something somebody worked really hard on. It's just bizarre to me. It's like buying a pair of green curtains. I'm saying that because I've got green curtains. So buying a pair of green curtains and going, they're fabulous curtains. They stay up. They don't let the light in. They're a beautiful texture. They do everything I want them to do, but I hate them because they're green. You bought green curtains. That's not the book's fault. Sorry. Moderately irate over that one. Did not finish. I couldn't get into it. There was no explanation to how the zombies worked, which I understand might happen later, but I got a quarter of the way through and nothing. It's an entire series. Something I love about this book is that it gradually explains things in a lot more detail than most zombie apocalypses do. Yet there were references to them working in groups and ambushing. I assumed they were alive at first, but instead it's a version of zombies where they can communicate with one another. I think it's such a cool thing, the way it unravels and the way the time jumps about. It's amazing. I do usually love zombie books, but someone described describe this as Lord of the Flies with zombies, and I couldn't think of a better way to sum up what I've read of this book than that. Both are great. No? I can see it if you just read the first one, if you read part of the first one and you're like, it's not explaining this stuff quick enough. It is a series of like, I think there's 7 or 8 books. And it gradually gets told, and the timeline shifts around a bit throughout the books. The books are not in a linear timeline. So you kind of get introduced to some of the, particularly like the zombie characters, where it's kind of like, whoa, where did that come from? But then it gets revealed, and the joy of this series that I love so much was how it unraveled. But I get if you just don't enjoy it enough to give it the 7-book chance. Snore, disagree. The book version of Face Punch. I don't mind gory books, and I actually enjoy horror. While there were some mind-grabbing things in this book, like the top quote, it offers no inspiration or intellectual stimulation, especially when compared to the amount of gore it took to get there. Just not my puddle of stew. Not my puddle of stew? That's not my kind of saying. That's very interesting. When I think back to the book, I remember like a lot of characters died, but I remember more like the themes in it and the survival element and the storyline unraveling, rather than there just being all of this senseless death. But watch or read any zombie thing, there's always pockets where so many people die because there's like herds that ambush, or it's the beginning of the outbreak and nobody knows what's going on or how to react. There's just death and gore a lot of the time in zombie stuff, and there's a storyline within that. I just feel like a lot of people don't like gore or zombies. I hated this book. Never hated a book that much. It put me through hundreds of reading slumps, so boring, and it's about kids in a world where grown-ups either die or turn to be like zombies. I did not find it boring. Some people are like, it's too dark and gory and bloody and deathy, and then other people are like,
it's too boring.
See, this is so subjective. Utterly emotionless and predictable writing. Yet another disgrace to the genre of horror.
A disgrace to the genre of horror? Grr.
It's amazing, really, though, that Enemy manages to be simultaneously grotesque, juvenile, and dull as a loaf of bread. Pretty much a waste of time. I think bread is amazing, and there's a reason why we have the saying, the best thing since sliced bread. Bread is not dull, and I disagree with this review. Okay, I can take a deep breath. I feel like a lot of that, again, boring, but I feel like it's just a thing. Like, a big reason why people don't enjoy books is because they find them boring. Like, not books generally, but certain books is because they think they're boring or find them boring. And boredom and what we find interesting is also another incredibly subjective thing. So it makes sense that it's quite a common theme in the negative reviews of like, this was boring to me. And that's fair. That is totally fine and valid.
I'm telling you, I'm fine.
I do feel like a lot of the comments were like, people died. There were children dying. No. There was another review I read when I was doing a Bad Reads reaction video, and someone was like, I hated everything about the book except the bits where the kids died. And I think the reviews about The Enemy felt quite the opposite. Anyway, next book is Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins, and I feel like this has been a little bit divisive, including of some OG hardcore fans of The Hunger Games. I personally enjoyed it. I do agree with some of the criticisms of it, but I still gave it 5 stars because I really enjoyed the storyline that the author chose to tell in this book and the increased depth we got. And maybe it's because I don't remember enough about the Hunger Games, because some people are saying that it contradicts some of the earlier lore about certain characters, and that is a fair objective criticism, to be honest. But let's read some of the reviews. Hate read. The only reason I finished was so I could give it 1 star. That's dedication. It was a flaming book of Badusi. Can I say that on YouTube?
Let's find out together.
This read like first draft fan fiction, but that's too derogatory to fan fiction. Oh my god. The fan service forced down my throat, Haymitch's syntax, the pointless predictable plot, just a colossal cash grab to make another movie that I unfortunately might watch for Kieran Culkin. Every time I read Lulu, My Girl, or Lenore Dove, I wanted to... Oh dear. That's quite the hatred. Maybe I just don't remember enough about the Hunger Games to be pissed off about some of this stuff, but none of that frustrated me. And I didn't really get awful writing from this book. I want to put Suzanne Collins in a room with poison berries. No, objectively, that review is not okay. No. No. Hate on the book, not on the author. Like, this is a piece of art that this person has created, and you can dislike it, give it like a constructive or even like a humorous diss, and say why you didn't like it, but to like be that hateful towards the author feels uncalled for. Suzanne Collins writes like a very talented 6th grader. I was going to give this 2 stars, but her quoting the entirety of The Raven was the last straw. Oh dear. I'm finally free. Review to come. I finally finished it. Oh my god. It can feel like that sometimes if you really don't like reading a book, but you feel committed to finishing it. It's kind of how I felt about Wicked. Boo, tomatoes, tomatoes. Although somebody's replied going, it's not even out yet. I think somebody just doesn't like the Hunger Games. Clearly I'm living in the wrong timeline because what the heck was this? What do you mean about living in the wrong timeline? I'm so confused. Okay, you do you. Returning this to the store due to LGBT content, I am very disappointed. A homophobe. But good news is I'm buying a different one. I'm not going to advertise it, but they said if you want a clean Christian alternative with still some Hunger Games-esque type thing, lol, there you go. I mean, I feel like they didn't actually ever buy or try to read this. They just heard that there was some LGBT themes in it and were like,
I'm going to use my review as a chance to spread and shove my homophobic Christianity down people's throats.
no. Okay, now we're on to the final book, which is called The Second Chance Convenience Store. It's one I read this year and I just thought it was a really cute, cozy book. Somebody has just reviewed it with the word shit in Spanish. Eloquent, beautiful. I can't think of another adjective. For such mediocre writing to receive this much attention and achieve success, life is truly absurd. I really enjoyed it. I really liked it. Need I say more? It's all cause of this beautiful cover. I mean, it did have a very beautiful cover. That's why I first picked it up. My thoughts would be boring, mediocre, shallow, uninteresting, unoriginal, forgettable, mundane. So much repetitiveness, so many mentions of corn silk tea that I thought this was just product placement. Instead of feeling symbolic or meaningful, it just became irritating. Like, how many times does he have to recommend this drink? I get it. He used to be a drunkard and he just quit like that one day? No, sir. I didn't work that way. Oh, this person's very angry. When I read the synopsis, we were supposed to try to figure out who the homeless man was. That should have been intriguing, but instead it took about 70% of the book just to circle back to that premise. Guess what? I don't care anymore! The revelation was also shallow and does not make any sense. I couldn't empathize with him anymore. It's like we read his diary at the end of the book and found out who he was. Characters felt paper thin, the plot wandered without purpose, and any attempt at emotional depth sank under the weight of cliches. Too unbelievable. What could have been a cozy, heartfelt read ended up flat and unmemorable. Mediocre writing that could be due to the translation, I don't know, but everything bored the hell out of me. Pretty cover, wasted potential. They seem mad that a pretty cover was wasted on a book they didn't like. Yeah, I disagree with that. I found it like a really cute, cozy, sad at times, emotional read. I didn't feel like it was mediocre writing. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed that book. I will stand by enjoying that book. But yeah, that was a little look at some 1-star reviews of books that I rated 5 stars and would uphold my 5-star rating of. I found that quite fun. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you've read these books and what you would rate them if you had read them. Let me know how it makes you feel when people just really like viscerally hate a book that you loved. I don't know. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. You're going to see some names at the screen of my lovely Patreons. Thank you so much for supporting me over there. It really helps. And a big shout out to my top tier Patreons: Ginger Blues, Tig, Night Soul, Sugar Joe, Elden K, Nesta, The Third Hatman, Max Makes Mods, Dylan Irvin, River Champignon, Chloe, Iona Balash, TNS Mum, Sally Drew, Randy, Albar, Marv Mallow, Rachel Raptor, Jesse Muscle, Gosco, Sienna Lamb, Slayer, Sarah Hobbs, Paisy Prince, Riley Ray, Bill Dad the Shoeite, @_Mars, A Deck of Cards, Claire Headley, and Marin. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next chapter. Much love. Bye.